The beast of the sea and the beast of the earth. The beast of the sea, Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 to 8. And I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads. On his horns were 10 diadems, and on his heads were blasphemous names. The beast I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like a bear's. His mouth was like a lion's mouth. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. One of his heads appeared to be fatally wounded, but his fatal wound was healed. The whole earth was amazed and followed the beast. They worshipped the dragon because he gave authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to wage war against him?" A mouth was given to him to speak boasts and blasphemies. He was also given authority to act for 42 months. He began to speak blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his dwelling, those who dwell in heaven. And he was permitted to wage war against the saints and to conquer them. He was also given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All those who live on the earth will worship him. Everyone whose name was not written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb, who was slaughtered. The beast of the earth. Revelation chapter 13, verses 11 to 14. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. He had 2 horns like a lamb, but he sounded like a dragon. He exercises all the authority of the first beast on his behalf, and compels the earth and those who live on it to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed. He also performs great signs, even causing fire to come down from the heaven to earth in front of people. He deceives those who live on the earth because of the signs that he is permitted to perform on behalf of the beast, telling those who live on the earth to make an image of the beast who had the sword, wound, and yet lived.
First off, let me say that you can't understand Revelation 13 without reading Daniel 7. Okay, so when you get a chance, read Daniel 7, verses 1 to 14. And because of time, we really don't have time to go into it. But when you read Daniel 7 and you read Revelation 13, you'll see that there are some similarities between Daniel's 4 beasts and the first one that John describes. Okay? Among them is that there are 10 horns and 7 heads. And John goes into great length to describe them. What I will say about that is that your enemy is the greatest copycat ever. What does that mean? Just as there is a Trinity, just as there is a Father, a Son, and a Spirit, the Son comes to do what? Point to the Father. Point people to the Father. The Spirit comes to speak well of the Son, and in turn point to the Father. We have the dragon, we have the first beast, which is the beast from the sea, and we have the second beast, which is the beast from the earth. Same thing. You have a holy trinity, and you have a false trinity. The dragon is, of course, the devil. What you will see from the first beast is that his job is he uses the power that he gets from the dragon, right? And his goal is to get rid of the enemies of the dragon. What you will see with the second, and let me just read this. This is Revelation 13, verse 4. They worship the dragon because he gave authority to the beast. They worship the Father because he gave authority to the Son. They worship the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to wage war against him?" A mouth was given to him to speak boasts and blasphemies. He was also given authority to act for 42 months. He began to speak blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his dwelling, those who dwell in heaven, and he was permitted to wage war against the saints and conquer them. He was also given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All of those who live on the earth, and when you read about living on the earth in Revelation, you will see that there's a distinction between us and the people of the world. Those are the people who live on the earth. That does not literally mean that this will take place in a time after we are gone. Our dwelling place is heaven. The dwelling place of those who do not believe is the earth. All those who live on the earth will worship him. Everyone whose name was not written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb was slaughtered. Who was slaughtered, excuse me. Now listen to this. Verse 9. If anyone has an ear to hear, he should listen. If anyone is destined for captivity, into captivity he goes. If anyone is to be killed with a sword he will be killed. This demands the perseverance and the faith of the saints. Saints are going to be put to death by a sword. Saints are going to be in captivity. If this beast is coming, and as I've heard many say this is going to happen after the rapture of the church, why would John need to say that the saints need to persevere? Unless we are dealing with these issues right now. The long and the short of it is this. The first beast is persecution. The second beast is deception. Revelation begins, one of the things that John says to the churches is that there's going to be a need for discernment. We read in Acts, we read in the epistles that there are false teachers who are already moving into the midst. Paul says, as soon as I leave, wolves are going to come in. Okay? We are dealing with a situation that is going to be either persecution for us, which is the first beast, or deception, which is the second one. And again, I'm trying to make something very long, very short, so that we can keep going. But just quickly, a minute? Okay. Just to compare so that you know, the Daniel 7 versus Revelation 13. Daniel 7 lists 4 beasts, Revelation 13 lists 1 in verses 1 and 10. Daniel's 7 heads among the 4. John's 7 heads on the 1. Daniel's 10 horns among those 4 beasts. John's 10 horns on that 1 beast. Where do Daniel's 4 beasts come from? The sea. Where does John's first beast come from? The sea. What types of animals does Daniel see? A lion, a bear, a leopard, and an eagle with its wings torn off. What types of animals does John see? A leopard, a bear, and a lion. Notice also that the power that these 4 beasts have in Daniel is delegated to them. Notice that that is exactly what John says of the first beast. It is given power. Okay? Daniel was clearly speaking about kingdoms and systems that were going to arise. We all know that from studying Daniel, correct? It's the same thing that John is speaking of here as well. Systems that will arise, persecuting the people of God. First beast. Second beast, the persecution is not going to be physical. It is going to be more in terms of seduction into error.
Okay. Okay, just let me read that portion where you have the revelation, the beast from the sea and beast from the land. It's Revelation 13. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. That's Revelation 13. And the same chapter, if you go down to verse 11, then I saw another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke like a dragon, and he exercises all authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Very interesting 2 portions here about 2 different beasts. Revelation and Daniel are very closely connected to each other, tied together, as Brother Cyril just mentioned and indicated. They're very closely tied. I just want to add a few more points to that. When Revelation talks about the sea, it's talking about the sea of people, humanity. That's what it's referring to in terms of the sea. And out of the sea rises this beast with horns and all kinds of crazy stuff with heads and horns and crowns and all these kinds of things. When I first read, this is one of the interesting things that I first read about Hal Lindsey, going back many years ago. The question was, who is this beast with this horn, and what are they symbolizing? and Hal Lindsey and many others that spoke along with him posited that this was going to be a European Union, and that there were going to be 10 nations, and these 10 nations are going to go, and is going to create some sort of an agreement with the Jewish nation and the tribulation and so on and so forth. Very Eurocentric kind of an approach, except it has no legs. You go down to Isaiah, or to Jeremiah, or to Daniel, or any of the Old Testament prophets, you will not hear any of these nations. Instead, you would hear about Edom, you would hear about Syria, you would hear about Egypt, you would hear about Elam, and all those nations. And who are those nations today? They are all these nations that are surrounding Israel: Egypt, Libya, Syria, Turkey, Jordan, Iraq, Elam, the Saudi Arabians, and so on. I don't hear any of the European Union here. You see, so that concept of that sea, what I had earlier learned, had to be relearned, and especially as we look at the way the world is going today, you will see that a beast is rising. Even as we speak, the beast is rising. There are horns being formed. There are powers that are being created. All around what? Around the nation of Israel. A beast is rising out of the sea of humanity. And then you will see the other beast. It says it looks like a lamb. In other words, it is a pseudo-lamb. It's got horns like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon. In other words, this person or this beast has the appearance of a lamb, but it is a dragon. Does that make sense? Doesn't that sound like a pseudo-lamb or an anti-lamb or the antichrist? These things are yet to be completely clear to us who this person is. I'm not going there and going to point fingers and say this person is and that person is, but it's not. That's not the case. But for us Christians today, we must understand that these are going to be. It is symbolic, but these symbolisms are pointing to those things that are to occur and that are being seen as it's taking place. Nations are rising. Powers are being formed. And recently there was a book, I'd say a couple of years ago, there was a book called The Islamic Antichrist. Never was this ever an issue before as to is Islam going to put the Antichrist. But if you look at the Islamic eschatology, they have someone called the 12th Mahdi. Have you heard of the 12th Mahdi? This 12th Mahdi has the same exact attributes, qualities, and the responsibility and the things that they're going to do as the Antichrist in the scriptures. This was brought to our attention by an author called Joel Richardson, who brought this to our attention, and it appears to be going that way. I'm not saying that is going to be the case. It seems to be going that way. And so the beast is rising. The two different beasts are coming up shortly.